Hello everyone and welcome to a new video. This time I am not doing the Lufenia stage, but the hard mode version of the stage, which is technically kind of like I'd say it's kind of a halfway between Cosmos and Chaos, to be completely honest. Mostly because while the Lufenia isn't actually really hard to do, in my opinion, it is quite long. And the video I ended up doing ended up having a few times I had to reset waves, which made it even longer. It ended up being 42 minutes, which is no bueno. No bueno a lot. So I figure I will do the hard mode version instead as a video, just to kind of get an idea out there of how things will generally go. This is the party I used for the first wave and a half for the Lufenia. It's a very effective party. Lightning is lightning. Cryle helps a lot. And Beatrix just makes things even easier. Now this is this wave in the very hard version does have an orb. Yeah, I believe it starts with it, and it is to do lightning element damage or thunder. I don't know what the game usually has it go by. And this team is kind of overkill for this, but pretty much bringing in an enchanter like Kryle or Raijin should basically make this wave decently easy for the Lufenia variant. These are basically your average Kraken. There really isn't too much special about it. They do all their normal things like the stones, suffocating wind, I believe is another attack they have. The little pyramid thing they do. Nothing really out of the ordinary for these. So if you fought the Sand Krakens before, you know how to handle them. They're fairly lowish health, I'd say. In the very hard version, it's nothing that can't be handled too hard though. So this is basically a nothing wave at the end of the day. And this team basically works just as well in the Lufenia version. Just all the enchants and all the elemental damage just makes it so that none of the characters really have any kind of problem here. So there's really not much to actually say about them. I don't believe they have any kind of special strengths or resistances outside of being weak to thunder right away. Which just basically makes it so that they take a little bit more from lightning from the start, but not really anything special otherwise. Now this wave in the Lufenia version does not have an orb. It is literally just these things again. I believe they were in the Chaos stage for Ultimecia's Lost Chapter as the first wave. And from what I recall, they act pretty much the same. This is basically just a Chaos boss. There's no orb. They don't really have any special mechanic. You fought them there, you can do the same here. I think they are double resist to melee in the Lufenia version. So it will be good to have an Imperial enchant unit here. Which I imagine most would, because the first wave isn't that difficult. And you should have some turns left going into this wave. I had managed to get them down to like about 30% each, at the very least, before my party had to switch out. And considering I'm not really the best player, someone with a well set up team can probably match that, if not beat it. This round with this team also tended to be hitting max all the time as well. And she's turn jumping again. Might as well finish off with this. Now the next wave is kind of an oddball in all versions of this. In that it's the moth. Most will probably know this from Renoa's chaos from her lost chapter. Except for some reason it starts off alone. And generally seems to keep that way for the most part. I don't know why it starts like this, but that's how it seems to work in this boss rush. I believe also during the Lufenia version, it does not seem to able to be launched. I don't know if that is set to be that way, or if there's some kind of aura in play I'm not aware of. But from what I had played, it had not been able to be launched. So that might be something to keep in mind. Unlike the second wave, though, this does have an orb requirement. It spawns an orb at around 50%, and it requires you to basically do some kind of sap. So you're gonna want characters like X-Death, Ultimecia, I think Vincent would count. Let's see who else. I'm not sure of a full grouping of characters who do saps, but if you know of one, they'll probably work here. I believe this is another wave that is generally resistant to melee. So like other rounds, if you want to bring a melee character, you're gonna want to bring an enchanter and Imperialer along. Also, thing to keep in mind, if people plan to bring Ultimecia into this wave, if you try to use her burst here, be careful not to do that near the middle of its life bar, because you can potentially end up deleting their turns right off the order for a long time. And if you can't finish them off before the orb goes, well, then you'd probably just lose right there. Overall, it's kind of an odd wave, but it's not really difficult in the Lufenia. Just kind of, I guess you could say, odd. And it's a bit tanky as well. And next is Heavy Gunners. I do not believe we've fought any of this kind of enemy before. At least not this particular kind. Let me finish this off pretty quick. This is another wave with an orb, and I believe it's there from the start. And the way you build the orb back up for this wave is by having a character kind of like Hope, or any character that has an HP damage reduction going on. I believe anytime they hit you with that on, will make their orb go up for the most part. So it's a pretty easy orb to keep up. I believe several characters like Rude, Hope, Word of Light have HP damage reduction, so they're all good to bring. And most of them have decent healing as well, which is really important considering these things do love to HP attack. I believe they also have an all attack that dispels buffs, but I'm not sure if the Lufenia version is able to do it or not. This is a somewhat easy wave, though, because they have a lot less health than other waves during this boss rush, so they can be taken out pretty quickly. I believe once they get a little bit below 50% or so, they give themselves a shield. It's not a particularly powerful shield, but it is something to keep in mind. The Lufenia version of this also resists, I believe resists Earth. So you're going to want to not bring brothers here to this one. I myself used Leviathan, which helped a bit once they decided to do an AoE on me. Kuja was actually really useful for this round for me. Getting his Imperil up meant not only were my other characters hitting pretty hard, he was hitting pretty much max on everything as well. Basically, this whole boss rush is basically an enchanter's paradise. It is nice. It is very nice having Hope here as well in the Lufenia version, since his LD does do quite a lot. It adds some nice healing and health overflow, which is not super common, so it's really nice to have. His, I believe his uh, LD debuff, D shell, is really unique in that it's a magic in barrel. So any magic units you have will be a lot more effective with him backing them up. But there we go. I know that wasn't the Lufenia, but just wanted to show off the fight in general. Basically, just talk a little bit about what is entailed with it and what's gonna generally be happening in each wave. Now, we do have super synergy here, so our boss rushes right now are a good bit easier than when it hit Japan. So we have a little bit easier time here. The next one is going to be the first one that was actually designed around super synergy stats, so it likely won't be as easy as the last couple have been. You gotta keep your wits about you in order to get through them. Also, since this is a 4-wave format instead of a 3-wave, to get the full rewards, you want to clear it with a maximum of 3 parties. Like I said, with the Super Synergy, that makes it really easy at this point. Some people have almost cleared it with 2. So it shouldn't be that difficult if you have decent teams set up for it. But either way, I know this isn't like really all that great, since it's basically Cosmos, Chaos kind of level stuff. But I did want to just kind of do a video on it without having it be massively long, because honestly I don't have the viewership dedicated enough to watch that far into a video. So I just wanted to get something out for it, just talk about it a little bit. And hopefully people will like that, I guess. But either way, see you guys later. I believe our next event is going to be the start of the next act for the game, so that will be interesting. I will be pulling for Onion Knight LD there, so that... Ooh, it's gonna be fun. I'm not super hyped for Onion Knight in general. I'm not a huge fan of him, but his LD is really interesting to me, and I think he's well worth going just for that, at the very least. But either way, I'll be seeing everyone. Goodbye.